Okay, so today we're going to be talking about inequalities. And we've talked about inequalities before. Inequalities mean not equal. And not equal will be something like a greater than or less than sign, or greater than equal to, or less than equal to. Now today we're going to be talking about graphing with it. So when we talk about graphing with inequalities, the greater than or less than sign is not going to be part of your solution. If it's not part of your solution, it's going to be a dotted line when you go to graph it. If it's greater than equal to or less than equal to, the equal to here means that your answer is also the line. The line's included in your answer. With it being included, it's going to be a solid line. Now, with it being inequalities, like it says up here, inequalities means not equal. When it talks about that, we're also going to have to shade our answer. So if you have a greater than or greater than equal to, you're going to shade up because the greater answers on a graph are always up. Let's say you have a graph. Let's do a different color. Let's do a graph. So here's my graph. And I'm going to go 5 places. So when we have a graph, this is my x-axis, this is my y-axis. Now when we go to start shading, like let's say they give me y is greater than 2x plus 1. Well, the first thing I know is when we start graphing these, we've been graphing lines, but plus 1, that is your y-intercept. That's the first thing we do. That's going to be your starting point. So plus 1 is going to be my starting point. So with plus 1 being my starting point, I'm going to go up 1 spot on the y-axis and put a dot. It's the y-intercept, so you could do this on the y-axis. So that's going to be my starting point. Now the plus 2, this is my slope. This is going to be the second thing you do, and you do this from the y-intercept. So my slope in this one is actually going to be 2 over 1. So I'm going to start at my point, I'm going to go up 2 places and write 1 and put a dot. Now that's the only 2 dots you need. You only need 2 dots to make a line. Now this has a greater than. So if you prefer back up to the top, a greater than is going to be a dotted line. So I'm going to draw a dotted line all the way across my graph and put my arrows on the end. And I have a dotted line now. Because remember in this one, it does not have an equal to underneath it, so it is not included in the answer. Now it's a greater than. And which way does it say greater than shades? It shades upwards. So literally all you're going to do is shade upwards. And that's going to be your answer. Now if you want to put arrows on them, you can. Some people shade out. You can do that. If you want to use a color pencil, you can just color the whole top section in. Now the good thing about this is you can always come back and check your answer. So for me, if it doesn't go through the origin, 0, 0, then usually I try to plug that in. So here's my equation, here's my inequality. Y is greater than 2x plus 1. I'm going to plug in the point 0, 0. So that means my x is going to be 0 and my y is going to be 0. So 0 is greater than 2 times 0 plus 1. 2 times 0 is 0. And I get 0 is greater than 1. Is that true? No, that's false. That means that 0, 0 should not be shaded in my answer. Now if I look up here, is 0, 0 shaded in my answer? No, it's not. So then that means it works. If this turned out to be true, then my shading should cover 0, 0. Because I plugged in the point 0, 0, which you could have as 0, comma 0. If you plug in a point and it, like let's say 0, 0, if it's part of the solution that's shaded in, then this should be true. If it's not part of what's shaded in, it should be false. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's try y is less than or equal to 3x minus 1. So now that I have that, I'm going to draw my draw my graph, go 5 every direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want 5 every direction. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. This is what we're going to do first. It's the y-intercept. This is what we're going to do second. That's my slope. So for my y-intercept, make that look more like a y. So for my y-intercept, it's a -1. So on my y-axis, I'm going to go down 1 and put a dot. Now my slope is 3 over 1. This is a positive slope. That means I go up 3, 1, 2, 3, go over 1, and I put a dot. Now this one has a line underneath it, so what does that mean? That means I'm going to have to make this a solid line. Now this is a less than or equal to. Less than shades which way? Down. Well, look on your y-axis. Which way is up and which way is down? This is positive, that's up. This is negative, this is down. So which way am I going to shade? I'm going to shade towards the negative, which is going to be this way, which is on this side. So I'm shading this direction. And that's your graph. Now remember, there always are going to be our 2 special cases. We always have the 2 special cases, the y equals and the x equals. So let's say they give me x is greater than or equal to 2. If they give me x is greater than or equal to 2, then I'm going to have my graph, go 5 every way. This is my x, this is my y. So if it says x is greater than 2, you're going to go on the x-axis to 2. So I'm going to come over here to x, and I'm going to put a dot at 2. Now, what do we say about the x? That it's going to be, would it be a line this way on the axis? No, that wouldn't make sense. It's going to be a line up and down. So let's look. Does this have a line underneath it? Yes, it does. So that's going to go as a solid line, just like you usually do. And greater than. So on the x-axis, where are the greater numbers? Would it be 3, 4, 5, or 1, 0, and -1? 3, 4, and 5 are greater numbers, so it's going to go to the right. So there's your graph for this one. This is your first type of special case. The second type of special case will be the ones that have the y on it, such as y is greater than -1. So I'm going to draw my graph. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the x. This is the y. So on the y, when they only give you one letter, one variable, it has to be a special case because you don't have the 2. Just like on the last one, you only have one letter. On this one, I have one letter. It's the y. So I'm going to go on my y-axis, which is up and down, to -1, and I'm going to put a dot. Now, would it make sense for me to go on the y-axis? No, it wouldn't. So it's a greater than, but does not have a line underneath it. So it's going to be a dotted line. And where on the y-axis would the greater numbers be? Would it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or -2, -3, -4? The greater numbers are going to be up. So we're going to shade up. And that's your answer. Now let me give you one to try. Let's see how you do. Okay, so your problem is going to be y is greater than 2/3 x minus 3. So I'm going to draw my graph just like I've been doing. 5 places every direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my x. This is my y. And remember, if you have forgotten any of this stuff about slope, for your slope, if your slope is a positive, your slope goes up and to the right or down and to the left. If your slope is negative, it goes down and to the right or up and to the left. Those are your little cheat sheets you had for your slope quiz you did. It should also be on the slope sheet you did last week. The one where you printed out and it just had all kinds of examples for you to write down about slope. It should have been on there as well. So if you want to pause it now and try it, and then you can check your answer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start. -3, this is your y-intercept. This is what we're going to do first. On the y-axis, I'm going to go -3. 1, 2, 3. There's my -3. My slope is 2/3. That's the rise and the run. So that's rise up 2 and run over 3. And put a dot. Now remember, you can do this slope multiple times if you want to. You could go up 2 more, 1, 2, and go right 3 more and end up over here. You could also go down 2 and left 3 and end up over here. Okay, now this one does not have a line underneath it, so it's going to be a dotted line. So there's my dotted line. It's not the best, but it's a dotted line. And it's greater than. So the greater than deals with my y-axis. So where are the greater numbers on my y-axis? Would it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or -4, -5, -6? The greater numbers are going to be up here. So you're going to draw your line shading to the top.